Imagine spending $1,200 on Christmas gifts and paying $1,400 in interest over the next decade. Sounds crazy, right? You may be surprised at how many Americans do this each year. Welcome to a special holiday edition of the Fiscal Clinician Podcast.
Mele Kalikimaka from Hawaii. I'm Devon McCord. We're both physical therapists and financial coaches passionate about healthcare. Professionals take control of their money without sacrificing joy, even during the holidays.
And today we're talking about some holiday spending stats, traditions we love, meaningful ways to give, and the real financial costs of Christmas. So you can enjoy it without going into debt. Now, Devon, what do some of the numbers say for Christmas?
So according to NerdWallet, Americans plan to spend around $1,100 on gifts this year and $2,500 on travel during this holiday season. And what's crazy is nearly a third of holiday shoppers will carry credit card debt into the new year, paying hundreds of dollars in interest on top of their gifts.
Yeah, that's exactly the type of January debt hangover we want to avoid. But don't worry, we're also talking about the fun stuff. Christmas nostalgia, traditions, and way to enjoy the season wisely. And so let's start there with some nostalgia and traditions. And so for me, Christmas was waking up early on Christmas Day with my brother, playing one of the classic video games that we always used to play. We played All-Star Mode on Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and we had so much fun with that. We were waking up sometimes at like 5 or 5:30 a.m. And after we had enough of that, our next goal was to annoy our parents and my sister to try to get them up so we could finally open presents because we had been up several hours before them. And another big tradition for us was enjoying Nana's homemade cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning / afternoon because we would do brunch at their place and watching classic Christmas movies. And now it's changed a little bit, but our tradition is a fun balance of we alternate Christmas with each side of the family. And so this past Thanksgiving, we got to spend some time with my wife's family, and we'll be able to spend about a week with my family for Christmas. So what about you, Devon?
Yeah, so for me back in Illinois, I used to always enjoy making cookies with my mom, whether it be like Christmas Eve or, on Christmas Day, smashing myself with food, watching some football. We got a new tree, like a brand new tree every year, so we'd set up the Christmas tree and hope the cat doesn't just blow it over or break it down. And also just like cozy nights at the local bar when it's snowing outside, talking to good old high school friends was always a way to reconnect with people and see how lives are going. But living in Hawaii has totally changed my Christmas nostalgia. It's more about surfing in the morning, enjoying family time with my parents with minimal gifts, and truly reflecting on the year's blessings.
I think gratitude and just reflection on all we have is such a huge part of what we can be thankful for during the holiday season. And yeah, I was only in Hawaii with my wife for 3 years, but holidays were always a little bit different in Hawaii. To me, at least growing up in the Midwest, it didn't quite feel like Christmas because of the lack of seasons. I was like waiting for the cold or waiting for the snow. Were you feeling this? I know you've been there longer than me now, but did you feel this too?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely felt that for a couple of years, but I just kind of continuously got into more of the habit of like decorating the house or certain types of Christmas ornaments that are from Chicago and Christmas ornaments from Hawaii. So it kind of pulls it together, right? But yeah, the change in like swells in the water. So with surfing, there's swell changes. And so the south swell will kind of, in the summers, will bring a lot of salty and warm smell in the air, right? You can kind of feel it. And then in the winter, it kind of shifts to like a more colder, crispier air that kind of smells like pine trees. So I truly feel like I do get a sense of change. The leaves sometimes change or the flowers change on all the, beautiful Hawaii plants we have. And obviously just putting on a good old Christmas movie always helps, right?
And well, and speaking of nostalgia and movies, like movies and decorations totally tie into our spending habits. Movies like Elf or A Christmas Story were classics for us. Or I remember watching with my mom the really old claymation Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman. Those are always classics that bring me back to childhood. But what's cool is like watching these movies with family and having this experience is a way that brings a lot of joy and nostalgia without really costing much of anything. While elaborate decor for Christmas can be pretty expensive, and so picking what matters to your family or you and your partner or for yourself and discussing your plan before Christmas can help reduce a lot of overspending. One of the things Ramit Sethi talks about, he's another finance expert that we love to reference, is he says, cut mercilessly on things that don't matter as much so you can spend extravagantly in other areas of your life. And so the big takeaway is spend on what you love, but you have to be tracking this in order to know what you're spending on. And for example, my wife loves spending on Christmas decorations. And I kind of had this conversation with her recently. I was like, is this one of the things that makes you irrationally happy? And she talks about just the smells of Christmas, the smells of fall, walking into a home that's decorated. Those are things that makes her unbelievably happy. And so you guys got to look back and continue to figure out what are the things that make me most joyful and happy when it comes to spending.
I think it's great. Just a little Christmas candle with a little Christmas scent goes a real long way in a house, right? Gets you into that Christmas spirit, you know? Josh and
Yeah.
I, we totally agree that it's very important to just plan ahead for this Christmas budget, especially with your spouse or significant other who may feel or value different parts of Christmas. I think always planning a couple months in advance to truly help settle your nerves and bring you into that Christmas spirit together.
And guys, reminder, Christmas comes in December every year. I know that's surprising to some of you and shocking, but it comes at the same time. And so we need to be able to plan and have a plan for our money as well. And we recommend at least doing a month, I would say even a couple months in advance, thinking about your spending for the holidays, because often in November, the spending ramps up with the Black Friday deals, the Cyber Monday deals, whatever it is. And so have a plan to make sure you know what you're going to be spending on. And so let's transition to some of our favorite things to spend on. And experiences are definitely my top priority when it comes to spending for Christmas. One of our classic holiday traditions with my side of the family is going to a Christmas light show. There's this huge light show at the Morton Arboretum in Illinois where they've got like 2+ miles of like a walkway that you can walk around and see these amazing Christmas lights. And you can also just snag a hot chocolate, or you can snag a hot chocolate with some Baileys in it. That's my personal favorite. Always fun walking around and just enjoying that with all the lights. But some other things that are very cheap, because there's a lot of light shows that are free. This one particularly isn't, but there's several that are. And ice skating was really big for me growing up. My brother and I used to do pickup hockey games on the pond in our neighborhood. And so it was always a tradition for us to either do that or go ice skating in some way, shape, or form. Sledding was a really fun one for us. And then in the Sheen family, we are all huge foodies. My dad's side, mom's side, everyone. And so for us, we spend a little more extravagantly on different types of food. This could be a really special place to eat out, whether it's something that we're trying that's new. My dad is always great at finding these amazing hole in the wall spots or the newest restaurant. But then we also love to cook and spend a lot more for food items at home. And so, for example, my dad loves smoking like really nice briskets. We'll go to a great meat market and get some really high quality stuff. And so, this is something that really creates amazing memories. We always feel like food brings people together. And this is something that really creates these memories without accumulating more clutter.
Yeah, I love the whole create memories rather than clutter type of mindset. For me, it was about like ice skating in Millennium Park, sledding down a big hill with one little sled, maybe doing a little ski trip up to Wisconsin to actually slide down, like a hill. And yeah, those were times like I'll never forget. We had a lot of good time with friends when I would do those things. And yeah, just kind of keeping in mind that the money from this is coming from a guilt-free spending side and planning ahead, kind of start allocating a little bit of money towards that guilt-free spending account and get ready for Christmas. And the other thing, I totally forgot to mention was just like that Black Friday deals are coming up. Well, get a list of Black Friday things that you really like, right? Like if there's something on there you and your wife or your spouse both like, plan ahead.
Yeah, and Black Friday can be a black hole, guys. It is a time for us to make every excuse in the world to buy crap that we don't need. And so be aware of these things. And like Devon said, if there's an item that you were already planning on buying, go for it. But just because something's half off does not mean that you should buy it, okay? It's about the little things sometimes too. For me, like small indulgences like quality soaps, I don't know what it is, but those Dr. Squats or the Duke Cannon soaps, I freaking love those. They're way more expensive, right? But for some reason, that just does something for me in this past year. And I love getting those for Christmas. Or disc golf gear is another thing. I've been really into disc golf for several years. And so getting more gear for that, whether it's a nicer bag or discs, but it's something I can continue to use to have fun experiences. So speaking of experiences with money, though, let's transition into our section on giving. And so why does giving matter and why is it important to us? Part of it's just the example we see in like scriptures of either Jesus giving or lots of other people giving generously. And it really just helps us connect with our financial well being and our personal fulfillment. And giving really reduces the pressure to overspend. Our family, my wife and I specifically, increase our generosity throughout the church. We normally give our 10% tithe because we feel like the church is making such an amazing impact on the world, and we feel like it's very valuable to contribute to that. But we also then increase giving through community initiatives, whether it's serving with our time at food drives. And then we also do a December generosity fund. We normally always do a generosity fund each month, but it's something that bumps up a lot more during December. And I have a recent story about it was like a month ago or so. I went to a small restaurant in the town nearby us. I got breakfast. I was by myself and my meal was like $10. And I feel like God was kind of just talking to me to be like, hey, I think you should give a really generous tip to this waitress. She did a great job. It's the holiday season, right? So I ended up tipping $50 on a $10 meal and I paid at the front desk. I walked away and got into my car, but the waitress like ran after me and just got emotional and was like, "Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me." And I think I will remember that $50 for so long because of how much it meant to her, as opposed to some random $50 material item I could have gotten that I'll probably throw away in a couple years. And so I think it's just so meaningful to people, and $50 can impact someone's life or day in a way that nothing you buy really can.
Yeah. Research shows both giving and receiving activate the brain's reward centers. The joy of giving can actually rival the excitement of receiving, and it's super cost effective. And all of us healthcare professionals out there, we give so much empathy and care and healing and nurturing to people during the whole year, right? And the holidays are a chance to extend that giving without burnout or overspending. And so we do want you to kind of think about taking a step back to reflect on your previous year, but also just remember that giving unconditionally versus conditionally is completely different. Our jobs, we have to give under the condition we're getting paid, right? But once we step outside of that box and we're in the real world, giving unconditionally can really fulfill our cups. It's very easy and cost effective. Like Josh said, that $50 did not probably matter to Josh at all, but the feeling that Josh got from giving that $50 was super huge. He's going to remember this for the rest of his life, and it's going to impact somebody that will probably remember that gift for the rest of their life. And a lot of people think, oh, I'll just give when I have more money. But you don't have to do that, and you can really just build up a small habit, even if it's a small amount right now, and it will accumulate to something greater in the long run.
Yeah, guys, give a little now so you can give abundantly later. The Ramsey team often talks about how money makes you more of what you already are, and I love this thought because it's been so true for me and my wife. And if you practice generosity early, you'll naturally give more as you grow. But if you only hoard or save right now, that pattern's very likely to continue and follow you even when you have plenty and you are much more abundant in your finances.
And speaking of some practical ways to give, when you have a little, especially in the work setting, a great idea is to always initiate a gift exchange. So if you're the first person to initiate the dollar amount, at least you feel comfortable with it within yourself, and others can kind of chime in on what they feel is appropriate too. But if you don't feel like you have that money to give, a real good way to always give back during the holiday season is to volunteer for a local food shelter. We also recommend like doing a meal train or cooking for a family that is going through a very challenging time during this holiday season.
Well, let's now transition to the real cost of Christmas and financially what that looks like with some numbers. So, Devin, what do we got here?
About 36% of Americans take on holiday debt with an averaging of around $1,100 over the year at a 20% interest. And many will take on an average 5 months or more to pay off. And if you don't pay off your balance within this grace period, the new purchases after the grace period ends will accrue even more interest. And our next episode is going to be full of all the naughty and nice things we like about credit cards.
Yeah, and so people who miss that, the big takeaway is if you don't pay off your credit card in full, then the things you continue to buy will actually accrue interest. The things that you swipe your card with next. And again, we'll explain that more in depth in the next episode. A lot of people talk about, oh, I'll just pay the minimum and I'll be fine with their credit cards. Imagine that $1,200 in holiday debt only paid with minimums at a 22% interest rate. This debt would last over 10 years and you would pay $1,400 in interest because of how long it took to pay off. And so, literally, the interest is bigger than the original sum. And this is why planning matters so much. And so, let's talk about how to avoid going into debt during Christmas and this January debt hangover, if you will. Devin, what do we got?
So some great take action type of steps is always be proactive. Plan your spending, your Christmas holiday budget ahead of time, well in advance, even a couple months. Remember to start to initiate Secret Santa gift exchanges with gift caps for all your coworkers and sometimes even with family and friends is really good too.
Yeah, and a big thing to note, learn to just say no if it's needed for your family situation. And a script that you could use is something along these lines. Hey, our family decided to skip gifts this year to focus on our financial goals. We're going to opt out of Secret Santa this year, but we would love to still see you guys enjoy it. And what this does is it just lays down a boundary. Maybe you'll do something small with your spouse. But again, it's so much more about the memories and experiences you create than the gifts. And so don't feel like you have to be pressured into doing that. And again, experiences beat out high or even low to medium cost gifts. And so you can find and brainstorm many cheap or free experiences throughout the holiday season. Another big practical is to start a holiday sinking fund to prepare for next year. And what is a sinking fund, you might ask? This is literally just setting aside a dollar amount to save up for something over each month. So, for example, let's say you want to be able to have $300 to spend on Christmas gifts next year. If you start in January, set aside $25 a month, you'll have $300 by next year to spend on Christmas gifts. And this is a very small amount to start with. And maybe it's just you skipping one dinner out to eat, lunch out to eat, but then you don't have to go into any debt for Christmas and you don't have to pay any interest on your credit cards.
Yeah, I love the little pile up a little bit of cash each month and see where it's at towards the end. $300 I feel is a great amount for Christmas gifts. And if you have that already saved, right, then you can pay off your balance. You can even spend the money on the credit card, but then immediately pay off that balance in full. So it'll help improve your credit. And another big thing is to review on the previous Christmas year on what brought you joy versus stress. And remember that you control the season and not your credit card.
If you already have holiday debt from last year too, right? Then prioritize paying it off using the debt snowball method. And that just means you start with the smallest debt, so if you have a small credit card debt that's like $200, start there, work your way up to the biggest. This is going to give you a great sense of accomplishment as you pay things off. It's a snowball, and so the momentum just keeps going, which is really helpful for paying off those debts. And again, we'll talk more about this in our credit card episode, but use your debit card only for at least 3 months or until all your credit card debt is paid off to avoid paying extra interest. Because again, if you haven't paid the card in full, they're going to start charging you interest on new things that you purchase.
Yeah, and moving on to some clinician type specific tips. So December schedules, like we know they can be super chaotic, and we recommend plan early. Simplify your holidays and protect your mental bandwidth. If you have a contract, maybe you're a 40-hour work week type of person, but you don't have to work 40 hours that week. Maybe you can work 36 or 30 hours that week. Do it. It's the perfect time to take a step back, protect your mental bandwidth so you can kind of regenerate that positive energy for the next year. And another thing is to consider taking vacations in cheaper months to save money and reduce stress. Like maybe you can't see your family during Christmas because it's going to cost you $2,000. It's money that you don't have, but maybe you can go in April or March. And so you can also reach out if you need help creating a money plan, whether you're crushing debt or struggling with debt, or even struggling to develop a Christmas budget during the holiday season. We're here to help healthcare professionals succeed financially, not just for Christmas, but for life.
And so, guys, the big thing here, enjoy your traditions, give generously, and stay debt-free for Christmas. What's one Christmas expense that you're skipping this year in order to be set with your financial well-being? Let us know on Instagram, TikTok, or the comments on the podcast. And so feel free to schedule a free one-on-one consult using the link in the description or on our website at fiscalclinician.com. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and give us a rating if you found this podcast helpful. And guys, we want to hear from you. Is there a specific topic in finance you want us to cover? Feel free to comment so we can know exactly what to do our next episode on. Well, thanks so much for joining us, guys. Feel free to catch the next episode all about credit cards. We're super excited about that one. And catch us next time on the Fiscal Clinician podcast. Hope you guys have an amazing holiday time and Merry Christmas.